All right, we got a lot of signings, though, because not as many as day one. Day one was hype. Day two, a little more tame. But the Vikings came to play. We're going to go through team by team, signing by signing here through Pete Prisco's top 100, all the ones that went down. We'll start with the only top 10 signing of the day, Jevon Holland.
Yep.
Safety from Miami Dolphins. 3 years, $45 million to the Giants. This one feels like a steal to me. Now, he didn't have the best of years last year, but the first 3 years of this guy's career were, on par with guys like Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton, guys that we think of as,
pretty great names.
Yes. And he thought he could have been, like Micah Fitzpatrick and get a big top of the market deal. Last year, some injuries, doesn't have his best season, but Dolphins lost the Giants gain here. I think he is going to outplay that. This feels like, they screwed it up with the Xavier McKinney, letting him leave town. Poor
non-valuable positions, running back and safety. Well, take a look what Saquon and Xavier did last year.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So Holland, I think, fixes that and fixes it very quickly for this Giants.
It backs those Giants fans that I've been communicating with on Twitter and via text message. I got some buddies who are Giants fans. I alluded to this. It backs them off the ledge a little bit. You get a guy like this into your building. It's a big time building block on that back end, difference maker. And for Joe Schoen to let Xavier McKinney and Saquon Barkley walk, and then to watch them have the seasons that they did, it kind of feels like a no-brainer that the fact that he was available at 45-3, that the New York Giants would move on him.
I'll just say if the Giants secondary is bad next season, you have no one else to blame but Joe Schoen. Every single one of those guys was put there specifically by Joe Schoen. You have your first rounder from 2023 in Deonte Banks, your second rounder from 2024 in Tyler Nubin at safety. You have your third rounder from 2024 in Drew Phillips at the slot. And then you have your two big money corner or defensive backs, Paulson Adebo at corner, Jevon Holland at safety. If it stinks, you got one man to blame. They all added all those guys in the last 2 years. All right, let's get on number 15 here. Will Fries.
This is big.
The hot name in the guard class goes to the Minnesota Vikings. 5 years, $88 million. If you don't know the name, second year, 2 years of starting for the Indianapolis Colts. This past year, he had an 86.9 PFF grade in 5 games before breaking his tibia. In retrospect, probably not even it didn't even end up hurting his bank account. We always talk about these guys like, wanting to not get hurt. Guy got hurt, $88 million deal. Obviously, Kwesi and the staff there for the Minnesota Vikings, very forward-looking, very analytically based. And so they're not worried about the injury. They're just thinking we could be getting a steal on a guy.
Well, I was talking about this earlier, and there's a lot of signings in Minnesota, and we're going to get to the rest of the lion's share there. But as it pertains to Minnesota Vikings, when I think about that team in purple, I think about 2 words. I think about skill, because they are as skilled as any group, whether it be schematically on the back end, the guys who can play in multiple different positions and be pass rushers from the third level. Or then I think about the guys at the receiver room for them. They're just oozing with skill and talent. To have a little bit of this brutish stuff infused into your team. And like I said, we're going to talk about the defensive front, but Will Fries, important, good at the tackle, great at the tackle spot there in Minnesota. Solidify the interior part of that offensive line, because we don't know who's going to be playing quarterback there. I mean, it could be J.J. McCarthy. It could be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, what's up with this? Let's talk about the Vikings for just a little bit longer, because they signed not only Will Fries, they signed Ryan Kelly, also from Minnesota.
Big.
The long-term center to be their center, replace Garrett Bradbury. Bradbury maybe moving to guard, maybe Kelly moving to guard. I don't know what's going to happen there. They signed not only him, they signed Jonathan Allen from the Washington Commanders on a 3-year, $60 million deal. And then they signed Jevon Hargrave, or reportedly to be signing him. We haven't had full details on that yet. Obviously, he was cut by the San Francisco 49ers. He's 32 years old. So 2 kind of vet DTs they signed, cut from their previous spots, so they won't factor in the compensatory picks. But Fries and Kelly will be. And then they re-signed Byron Murphy, their slot cornerback, that everyone kind of said, yeah, we think he's going to re-sign with him.
Got to keep him.
Yeah.
And there's a couple guys where it's like, you're not getting out of my sight. Byron Murphy's one of those guys. And you talked about Jevon Hargrave and the other defensive tackle. Gosh, we've talked about him all day, and now I'm blanking on him. Jonathan Allen from Washington. These are guys that are good players, but they're different points in their career right now. Jevon Hargrave has some question marks there, coming off of an injury, and he's at that age where you don't quite know how the bounce back is going to be. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Allen has done it for a very long time. He's a real winner. He's a guy that can force you to allocate resources at the line of scrimmage to try to get him blocked because he can win on third downs. I think it's really important. I talked about scheme and skill. You bring in these interior linemen on both sides of the football, and you mean business. And when you take a look around the division, the NFC North, as skilled as the quarterbacks are and as talented as the coordinators are at getting receivers open, at the end of the day, it's pound the rock style football teams, and it's win the line of scrimmage style football that's happening. So Minnesota is following suit here, bolstering that both of those lines, offensive and defensive.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing some of these guards get paid more than I think anyone anticipated because, one, there is a good amount in this free agency class. Two, there's not a good amount in the draft. There's not going to be a plethora of starting interior offensive linemen the way we saw a year ago. So that's why maybe there's a little desperation to go get your guy and get them this free agency period. But the last thing to know here about the Minnesota Vikings was this oddly cryptic tweet from Mike Silver. He tweeted, "In the Vikings organization, Kevin O'Connell's opinion carries the most weight when it comes to QB decisions. There are some very interesting conversations taking place right now." Because I think everyone and their mother would think that after Sam Darnold left town, it's just J.J. McCarthy, right? You just drafted him, 10th overall pick. What decision is there to be made? It's J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
What could you think he's hitting?
But there's some interesting conversations there. I mean, look, at the end of the day, he may be a second-year player in terms of just the calendar. He's a rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I see that these moves, going to get Kelly, getting Fries in the building, tells me that their plan right now is to have J.J. McCarthy be the starting quarterback in his second year in the National Football League. It'll be his first year playing. I think they're confident with the guys around him, but they're just trying to secure that line of scrimmage because the last thing they want is a gun-shy rookie out there with a team that, in all honesty, can be competing for the NFC North.
Interesting. Would it be Aaron Rodgers?
It could be Aaron Rodgers. And if it is Aaron Rodgers, you need to protect him anyway.
Could be Anthony Richardson.
So why not bolster that group? Could be Anthony Richardson.
Signed. That one we'll get to a little bit. Well, that one we'll get to a little bit later. Let's actually get to the Colts because the Colts were another very active team today, signing the next free agent on this list. Number 18, Charvarius Ward, obviously from the San Francisco 49ers, goes to Indianapolis Colts, 3 years, $60 million deal, matching Carlton Davis's number. Both guys who are up there in age, their best football at this point, 28 years old, about to turn 29, probably behind them. You're not getting any better. But they've been so good for so long, and they have a press skill set that's unique at the NFL level, and years of doing it. That you feel good about them. And for the Indianapolis Colts, I think the desperation was just there. I don't know after Juju Brent's injury last year if they're necessarily reliant upon him. I think Charvarius Ward's your starter, and you got a sort of competition for that CB2 spot now. But they just needed to make some upgrades to that secondary.
Ward, a really good player, has been on some great teams. Obviously, a Super Bowl champ in Kansas City. Got to go play in San Francisco with that defense, who was awesome to watch. You got to think he's going to pick up where he left off, introducing himself to a new locker room. But for the Colts, they get a guy who's still in his 20s with the opportunity to go play some good press coverage. And like you said, he's a long guy in the arms. He's somebody that can be a real mismatch at the point of attack with some of these receivers, and that's what you need in this football league. I mean, they're giving guys jump ball opportunities. Go get somebody who can make a play on the football.
So not only did they sign him, though, they signed Daniel Jones to a 1-year, $14 million deal that could become $17.7 million, which backup numbers have increased. But this is borderline.
That's out of the zip code as backup.
That's no longer backup quarterback material. That's like similar to the deal they gave Gardner Minshew in Las Vegas, where it's like you're going to compete for the starting job sort of deal. That's what that is. That's like you're competing.
And look,
sort of deal.
You and I both know that there is going to come a time where the bell will toll and Daniel Jones will have to come off the sideline, whether it is because of performance of Anthony Richardson or lack thereof, or it is because of injury. And with the way that Anthony Richardson plays the game of football, a reckless abandon, physical running style of football.
Yeah, I mean,
things happen, dude.
We're 2 years in with multiple injuries.
Things happen. We've seen it before. And, I totally anticipate seeing Daniel Jones out there for 3-4 games this year.
Did you see the Darius Butler, Pat McAfee clip talking about Richardson? they kind of seem to hint at, and I'm putting just tea leaves together with Mike Silver thing, hint at that like they might be
moving off of him,
or might just be like planning to go elsewhere at the quarterback position or shopping, whatever, with him, saying that. I think the quote was McAfee said something to the point of, if it's 2 years here and then he's elsewhere next year, we'll all be super happy for him that, we like brought him up to speed at the quarterback position. He'll go on and do great things. I was like, he was talking pretty,
keep it classy.
Like if you don't have some sort of inside info and you're that comfortable saying that, like, the guy, when, this is number 4 overall pick, he's entering year 3. He's always been the starter.
This is supposed to be the year he launches.
Exactly. So just some interesting.
That's not great.
Just something interesting to keep an eye on going forward here. But the Indianapolis Colts, and then the flip side of that is San Francisco 49ers. They are not going to be on any of these lists signing big money free agents. In fact, they lost not only Charvarius Ward, they lost Aaron Banks, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Jalen Moore, Elijah Mitchell.
And they got two guys that got to get paid, astronomical numbers.
One at the quarterback position.
With the rusher and the quarterback. So
they're finding out kind of how the other half lives, in that you can only play the cap game for so long.
Yep.
At some point, now, are any of these guys indispensable pieces? No. I don't think any of these guys are what made them solely a championship team a couple years ago, but you better draft your ass off. And they had a great draft last year, but you got to draft your ass off if you're going to lose mid-tier players like they're losing right now. Some even above that in terms of what they bring to the table. That, like, it's hard to do stars and scrubs for forever. And again, it comes back to, you better be drafting exceedingly well to be carrying at this, once they sign Brock Purdy, 4 guys of over $30+ million a year. It's hard to do.
And you get to having 4 guys earning $30+ million a year by nature of the fact that you've had such success. But the problem with the San Francisco 49ers is they've had so much success and then they've fallen off the face of the earth when it comes to meaningful football time, crunch time, whether it's Super Bowls or NFC championships. You go down that route so many times and you have to change things up. Mm-hmm. It's like that window is closed. I feel comfortable saying that, but now we have to find another avenue to get to where we're going. So whether it's the door or, we got to bust open the wall or something, figure out how to make that happen. And to your point, your backs are against the wall. You got to draft really well.
Got to draft really well. That's just the nature of, like, football, though. If you ain't drafted really well, you ain't building a team through free agency.
Yep.
I can't think of a team that's won a Super Bowl that was built from buying players with the teams. It's just difficult to do. At the end of the day, it's got to come from within. All right.
And that's why the Eagles are so damn good. Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles aren't in the Super Bowl if they don't have the first and second rounds they did the past 2 years.
Yeah.
If they whiffed on those picks, if they drafted duds the last 2 seasons, they're a first round exit. Yep. They just are. All right. We'll take a quick break after that. Going to get to some more free agent signings right after this.